Guys, Arcan Templar here. Well, it seems everybody's doing it. Well, Millennial Woes did it a while ago, and Raging Papist just did it, so I figured I would get in on the action. And I've been meaning to do it for a while, I just kind of forgot about it. So we're gonna have me, Arcan Templar, not that anyone cares, do the political compass, and we can see where I stand. Although I'm pretty sure where I'm gonna stand. I've gotten pretty much the same score on this thing for the last 10 years or something, regardless of where I think my political position is. Let's see here. If economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. I don't like transnational corporations, and I don't like globalization. I'd always support my country whether it was right or wrong. I'm a nationalist, but I don't like um, uncritically supporting my country. I'd probably say agree, because it will always difficult question. Um, if we're talking about my country, which is Canada, I don't support it at all, so I guess disagree. No one chooses his or her country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. Strongly disagree. Our race has superior qualities when compared with other races. Strongly agree. Um, all races are different. All races have some superior qualities and some inferior qualities when contrasted with others. Um, East Asians have better impulse control, and the crime rate in their countries are substantially lower. They also live longer on average, but they have less of a inventive drive. So that is a difference. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Somewhat agree. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. I don't believe in international law or accept it, so strongly agree. There's now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. Yes. That is pretty straightforward. Just watch the news. People are ultimately more divided by class than by nationality. Nope. Founding principle of fascism. People are divided by nationality, not class. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. I'm going to disagree mildly. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. Yes, corporations would rape and pillage the environment without state intervention. From each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea. Um, I'm a corporatist, so actually I do agree with that. You need all kinds of people in society, and they all contribute in their own way, and everyone profits, and that's how a nation is. A nation is a family in which everybody has their particular part. So yes, I do agree with that. It is a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product. Um, I'm going to disagree because it's cheap, efficient, and accessible. So, um, my basic test, it improves the welfare of the nation, so it's a good thing. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. I'm going to disagree. Um, Land is property. If the question is, should people outside of the nation be able to buy land within your nation, I'd say no. It has to be owned by the people within the country. Other than that, though, I don't see why you can't buy and sell it. It's regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society. Yes, that's basically Wall Street. If it was actually about investing in goods or services people wanted, I would support it, but I've seen no evidence that that's what Wall Street is. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. Yes. Every economist prior to like the 21st century thought that. The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. No. Corporations have a duty to not destroy the nation. They have a duty to not destroy the culture and people that they are composed of. Do I think in practice that's practical? No, but theoretically, yes. The rich are too highly taxed. I don't entirely understand this. not because I haven't studied the issue, but because it's all he said, she said. Some people say they evade taxes. Some people say they're too highly taxed. I actually don't think they're too highly taxed. I think after all the exemptions and hiding money overseas, they probably aren't. Especially when we get into the super rich. The middle class is too highly taxed. Those with the ability to pay should have the right to higher standards of medical care. I really don't have a problem with that. Government should penalize businesses that mislead the public. Yes, I'm tired of being screwed over by business in any number of ways. It's very dishonest. It's very opaque. In my experience, corporations are often just as incompetent, just as difficult to understand, just as misleading as government, often more so. Genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. I don't really understand the question. That sounds like an economic theory question. I don't really know. I don't really care about the free market that much. I support a market economy, but a free market, um, I'm going to mildly agree. The freer the market, the freer the people. Strongly disagree. Although, then again, it's hard because you have to ask, is it saying it's a good thing or not? Because I do think the freer the market, the freer the people, but I think that's a bad thing. Because like, super free people leads to, like, dildo stuff. It leads to, like, corporations bringing in illegal immigrants and stuff like that, so I'm going to disagree because I think it's asking whether or not you think it's a good thing. Abortion when the woman's life is not threatened should always be illegal? Yes. I am anti-abortion except when a woman's life is threatened, in which case I take the Orthodox Church's position that the woman is important to people in real life, in life, where the baby's only potentially important to people in life, and people depend upon her, so she comes first. Also, she can have more children. All authority should be questioned. Um, it should be questioned, but just because you question something doesn't mean um, that you don't accept it as legitimate. So I'm going to mildly agree, because theoretically you should always question whether or not the authority is legitimate, but there's certainly authority you can accept as legitimate. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. In terms of policy, you have to do that. In your personal life, you shouldn't, generally speaking, but in terms of international diplomacy, that's the way the game is played. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that could not survive on a cultural basis, commercial basis. Strongly disagree. That is the heritage of the people and of the nation. It is a relatively irrelevant amount of money if you look at the actual budget. In pretty much every country, it's not important. These things often, um, even if they don't directly make money, a lot of countries and a lot of cities and towns survive by being tourist draws and by making money indirectly through culture, just by people going there and like buying stuff from the local salesmen and buying food and hotel rooms and stuff. So I think that's good. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. I disagree. I actually do support universal schooling. All people have their rights, but it's better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. Strongly agree. Basis of my entire ideology. Parents sometimes have to spank their children. Yes. It is natural for children to keep secrets from their parents. Yeah, I think that's perfectly natural. You don't have to tell your parents everything. People keep secrets from each other all the time, and it's often done to maintain stability in relationships. A lot of stuff is just embarrassing and not very important. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. I'm mildly against marijuana, but it's not an issue I care about. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. I actually do agree with that. I support corporatism. I support public-private partnerships with regards to educational content. People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. My head says yes. My heart says no. Oh no, no, sorry. My head says no. My heart says yes. My church says no. So I have to bow to Mother Church and disagree. The most important thing for children is to learn to accept discipline. Uh, I don't really think that that's true, so I'm going to disagree mildly. Let's see here. There are no savage and civilized peoples, there are only different cultures. Strongly disagree. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not accept back society support. I don't know what that means. Um, does that mean in all cases? Does that mean physically? Does that mean people who are looking for work? I don't know. That feels like a trap question. I don't really understand it, so I'm just gonna slightly disagree, I guess. When you are troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep yourself busy with more cheerful things. Mildly disagree. I think you have to face reality, and you have to try and solve problems. First generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country. I strongly agree. Even if they're of a similar ethnicity, there'll always be that dual loyalty. If they're a related ethnicity, then their children will be fully integrated. If they're a different ethnicity, they'll never be fully integrated. What's good for the most successful? No, screw that. No broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding. Actually, I wouldn't mind if there was propaganda, just so long as it was like right-wing propaganda. Like, like we got some like red pill propaganda, like having children is good. Go out there and have more children. Repopulate the world. Um, be proud of your nation. Be proud of your heritage. That kind of thing. Or just, have you been to church today? That kind of stuff. So I'm going to disagree. The current dildo state propaganda I'm against, but I don't see why not. Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. I agree. I don't like the police state, which may seem weird because I'm an authoritarian, but I just don't like democracy. I don't like totalitarianism. I don't like people's and personal lives being invaded. The public and private sector is very different things for me. A significant advantage of the one-party state is that avoids, yes, I actually kind of like one-party states. Only wrongdoers need to be worried. No, they just arbitrarily. Particularly employers just go through your records. They will like hire people to track you down. They'll find out that you hold non-mainstream or non-left-wing political beliefs and they'll fire you. They won't hire you. They'll ruin your lives. I'm completely against electronic surveillance unless it's to catch criminals with a court order. I don't want government doing that. Which once again may sound weird considering how authoritarian I am, but I don't like it. The death penalty should be an option, yes. In a civilized society, yes, there needs to be hierarchy in any civilized society. Strongly agree. Abstract art that doesn't yep, screw abstract art. In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. It depends on the crime. If it's in most cases, I'd say rehabilitation is important. There's a lot of cases, like I think the Rotherham guys, they should have just put them against the wall and shot them. Maybe had a public execution. There's a lot of people who are just such scum that they should be publicly executed. But for most people, I can kind of understand where they're coming from. Maybe they're poor, maybe they did something stupid when they were young and they just need someone to set them on the right path. So I'm gonna say mildly disagree. It is a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminals. Strongly agree. The business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. Difficult question. I'll say I disagree. A lot of business people and manufacturers don't really do anything. It's kind of a stereotype. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. I agree. Otherwise, there won't be a next generation. Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries. From what I've read, I agree. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. I don't know what they're trying to get at with this question. It depends whether or not the establishment is a good thing, so I'll mildly disagree, because I know I'm not at peace with the establishment. Okay, religion. Astrology accurately explains many things. No, astrology is bullshit. You cannot be moral without being religious. I strongly agree. Morality implies that you have a worldview and that you have um, just a moral code, a moral system, a way of looking at the world, and that needs a justification, and that comes from religion, even if your religion is science. Charity's better than Social Security. I actually strongly disagree. Um, I can't see charity replacing the modern welfare state. I'm sure it can do some aspects of it better, but I think in general, if you have something like the CPP, which is actually investing in real companies and real stock, that actually seems to work pretty well, as opposed to Social Security in America, which is a pyramid scheme. Some people are naturally unlucky. I actually do agree with that. There's a lot of chance in life. There's a lot of unfortunate things that just happen to people. You don't control anything. You control a very small part of your destiny. It's important that my school installs religious values. Yes. The nation should have a religion, even if the religion is just Christianity in a generic sense, and not a specific denomination. Sex outside of marriage is usually immoral. I agree. I don't support gay marriage, so strongly disagree. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population. Well, you can't really ban it. So I think it should be legal. I think, though, there has to be a lot of restrictions on where the stores can be located, what they can sell. Some stuff I just don't think they should be allowed to sell. Um, there should probably be more firewalls on the internet. I would restrict access to it quite a bit, but I don't think you can ban it. And it's one of those things where people are just gonna do it, and it's not the worst thing in the world. Um, well, it depends on the pornography. If it's just like normal, tame, vanilla stuff, it's not that bad. Um, I don't know. I just want it kept in private. What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. Difficult question. In a bed in the private, yes, but I do think society needs to have moral standards, and that the media and that what the government promotes. I think government and popular culture should promote a certain view of what goes on in the private bedroom that is morally correct, but I'm not against spying on people in their own homes. No one can feel naturally homosexual. I think that's asking whether or not it's you approve of it. Um, I think there are a very few people who do feel that way, but I think by and large it's people who jump on the bandwagon or are just have a low sex drive or just a bunch of things and they're just bullied into thinking it. These days, openness about sex has gone too far. I do agree. I'm not a Puritan, but it has gone way too far, in particular premarital sex. My issue isn't even with sex and with sex being portrayed. My issue is more sex being just such a casual, emotionless thing that's done outside of marriage, and married sex being portrayed as just like a bad thing and being negative and passionless. That's kind of more my issue. Let's see where I stand. Left-wing authoritarian, which is pretty much what I always get. So left-wing authoritarianism. So you are -4 left, and you are +2 authoritarian. Um, let's see here. It doesn't really say why I'm there. Let's see here. So I don't know, that makes sense. I'm kind of a right-wing collectivist, so that kind of Makes sense to me. See my position plotted against uh, the general election, which is kind of funny because of all these parties, I'm probably the most like the DUP, but I'm way over here, pretty far away from them. I think these people are degenerates, and I despise them. But because of the screwed up way that this thing is, let's see here. As a deeply conservative one that largely endorses the neoliberal agenda. Let's see here. I don't know. I think it's bullshit that Labor's authoritarian right. I don't know. I think all of this is bullshit, but authoritarian left is probably fairly accurate. Um, so I don't know. I guess that makes sense. I hope you enjoyed that and you learned a bit about my political positions. This is Argent Templar signing out.